Okay, then I'm cringing so hard. I wanted to give this book 5 stars so badly, which is crazy. Then, oh my God, I was going through it in August. Why did I read this terrible book? Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Amin here, and I am going to be telling you about all the books that I read in the last 3 months. So this would have been in July, August, and September. I have read 13 books in the last 3 months, and I'm so happy to report that I actually found a 5-star book. It took the entire year for me to hit my first 5-star book, and obviously I'm filming this after September, and so it's October right now, and I actually have read another 5-star book, which you'll have to wait until the end of the year to hear about. Do a quick little book review on the books that I've read. Some were really bad, and like I said, some were really good. So let's talk about all the books that I read in Q3. I do post all of my reviews on Instagram, so if you guys want to follow me, it's Amin Overshares on Instagram. And the first book that I read in Q3 was, oh, I guess I finished 2 books on the same day. So one is The Maid by Nita Prose. I read this as, I guess I listened to it as an audiobook. It was not very good. I gave it 3.75 stars. I feel like because there was a little bit of drama with the audiobook narrator, it made it a little bit better. Essentially what the book is about, it's about this maid that works in a hotel, and then there is a murder that happens in the hotel, and they're kind of trying to figure out who basically murdered the guy. And she is orphaned. She has pretty much no friends. I think she is on the spectrum. They don't necessarily say it outright, but there are, you know, some theories out there. And even just by reading the book, I could tell that there were some social challenges with this individual, the main character, the maid. It is a series, so there are other books in the series. There's nothing wrong with the story. It just wasn't like up to my caliber. It was like a very easy, quick, short read. And so if you are interested in kind of like the very basic mystery books where it's just like for fun but not really using your brain, like it wouldn't be a bad idea for that. But generally speaking, like I'm not recommending it, and I'm not like super excited to read the other books in the series. But if I do get bored, I wouldn't mind listening to the audiobook for the next book in the series either. Then I finished Sunrise on the Reaping, and I gave it 4.5 stars. And this is part of the Hunger Games. It's what we call a prequel, I guess. And I actually really liked it as well. This is the story of Haymitch, who is the mentor for Katniss in the actual Hunger Games series that we all grew up with. And so it kind of tells his story, and we know based on Katniss's story that he won the Hunger Games and he was the victor of that year. And so it basically tells us his story and how he ended up going into the Hunger Games and what his experiences was like there. And then afterwards, we obviously know, if you've read the Hunger Games or you've watched the movies, that he's like an alcoholic essentially, and kind of like what ended up driving him to that point. Have not read the Hunger Games in many years, like since when they first came out. So I really liked it. I actually enjoy Susan Collins' writing style in general. Now I will say I'm not like a super fan, so if there were any, you know, gaps between the stories that didn't line up, like I wouldn't have known that at all. I just read it from the perspective of someone who's interested in the story and was familiar with the setting, and I quite enjoyed it, so I would recommend this book if you're interested. Then I read a book called Me Before You. The reason I'm laughing is, let me tell you, Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. And this book is essentially about someone who becomes a caretaker for an individual who is quadriplegic. I think that's how you say it. And I really like Jojo Moyes books, like The Giver of Stars, one of my top books ever. So I was really excited to read this book. I think there was also a movie based on it in general. And so basically it's the story of the person, really of the person who is the caretaker of this individual who has lost pretty much all autonomous body movements. And so they rely heavily on other people for everyday activities. And there is, this is gonna sound so weird, but there is a Bollywood movie that came out many years ago with Aishwarya Rai and Hrithik Roshan. It is very similar to what this book is. The movie came out first, and I googled it when I was reading this book because I was like, the plot line is too similar. And so I gave this book 4.25 stars, 4 stars meaning that it was good. Like I wouldn't not recommend you read it. But I personally didn't like fully love the story that much, and it was very predictable. Like I already knew what was gonna happen in the story. It is a series as well, so there is another book, and I really don't think I'll be reading any other books in the series because I just like didn't care that much about the characters. But I can see how other people would really like it. Like, it's a very emotional, dramatic book. So if you're into that, then maybe. And also part of it could be that I feel like kind of numb to these like medical type stories because I have a job in healthcare, so I don't really want to read stuff like that, and that sounds kind of mean. Let me know what your thoughts are if you've read this book, or if you're really looking forward to it, let me know as well, because it just wasn't my cup of tea. Then for our July book club, my book club is just me and my friend. I read Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren, and I wanted to give this book 5 stars so badly, which is crazy. I gave it 4.75 stars because it just like, actually you'll hear me, the 5-star book that I read is a romance, which is crazy because romances are so hard to perfect. And this one was almost perfect. Basically, it's a story about like these two people, they grow up together, like they're childhood friends, then they have like years apart and then they come back together, and obviously you know they're gonna end up together, but it's just like the drama of it all, like the unfolding and the past tense, the present tense, the past and the present, and they're with different people when they meet again, and then it's just so good. And also they're both like super into books, which it was just so cute. And the guy, the main character in this book, was like the perfect man, like the perfect man. So I was like fully obsessed with him, and I really liked it. But like I said, there was just like one little thing missing that I feel like could have made it a 5 stars, but I absolutely love it. 100% would recommend it. If anyone is into romance, like I read these books in the summer, so it was just like summer romances just make sense, but it was just like cozy, so like I can see it being a winter book as well. I absolutely loved it. You should totally read it. My friend who also read it with me also loved it, so definitely recommend this one. Next up, I read, it's just like a BookTok book. I'm not on TikTok, but I think this is like a TikTok famous-esque book. This is called Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I gave it 3 stars, which means I do not recommend it. Basically, it's about this super rich girl that lives in England, and she has super rich friends, and then kind of like her, I guess it's like within 1 year, like her life within that year. And there's like obviously drama with like boys and her family and whatever. It was not entertaining to read, to be honest. Like I didn't really care about this girl. I didn't really care about her friends. I didn't really care about her on and off romance with this other super rich guy. Like it just wasn't giving real life. I think I read it all in like a day. It wasn't a hard read at all. Like I literally wrote on my Instagram to save your brain cells. So if you're thinking about reading this book and you don't like these really like trendy, short, you know, really like filler type books, then you shouldn't read it. But if you're into that, then happy for you, then you should read it. Then, oh my God, I was going through it in August. Why did I read such terrible books? Then I listened to another audiobook called The Hating Game by Thorne. And this book I pretty much listened to only when I was going on walks because I thought it was going to be like a really fun, flirty, filler romance type book. It made me so mad. Like I despised this book. Like I just couldn't, like I couldn't deal with both of the characters. They're both so annoying. And in the audiobook, like maybe that's because the narrator also had kind of an annoying voice, which made sense with the character they're representing. But it was just not it for me. Like it was just so cringe. It was honestly just really cringe. It got cute sometimes, but it was more cringe than cute. Therefore, I would not recommend it. What this book is about is essentially rivals. It's like an enemies to lovers, but they're at work. And there's a competition between like a promotion between the both of them, and then they like become obsessed with each other because they hate each other. They're obsessed with each other, but actually they really like each other, obviously, and they obviously end up together. So the story itself was like okay. I just like thought the main character was super annoying. September book club book, because we skipped August because we were busy. My September book club book was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which is a super popular book, and it is a TV show as well, which I still have to watch. What this book is about is basically a girl who is in high school and she takes it upon herself to kind of reopen a cold case. There's a murder that happened in her small town, and essentially she's like, I want to investigate and see what really happened because I don't believe that they really got the killer. And so it's her solving the mystery because it was the wrong killer, obviously, who they got the first time. And this book, I really liked it. I think I gave it like around 4.5 stars. I really liked it. The book was really easy to read. I did like all of the characters that were involved, and I also really like the main character. It is a series, so there are other books in the series, and I would definitely read them as well. I'm also planning to watch the TV series. It did keep me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know who the murderer was until the very end, and I didn't love the ending. Because it's my book club book, we like talked about it a lot. I didn't love the ending. I feel like it kind of like wasn't the best outcome, but the entire journey towards the ending, I was really invested and I really enjoyed it. Then I read Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and I gave this one 4.75 stars. One of my coworkers recommended this book to me, and I don't actually read a lot of fantasy type books, but what this book was about is essentially the actual daughter of the moon goddess and how she leaves the moon and then comes celestial world and kind of has to navigate hiding her identity for various reasons, kind of becoming a warrior, and how she ends up finding her own path and becomes like a strong, independent woman. But there is obviously some drama involved, there's some mystery, there's some romance. It was pretty easy to follow. Like sometimes within fantasy world, it becomes difficult to follow like the new world, but I thought it was very well written. Then I read, and the reason I'm sighing is because I had really high hopes for this book. It's called Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Ashley Poston has written one of my favorite romance books, which is The 7-Year Slip. And so when I heard she had a new romance book, I was really excited about it, but it kind of fell flat for me. There are two people who kind of start hearing someone else's voice in their head, so they can like talk to each other in their head, but they don't know who the other person is. And then they find out who the other person is, and then they're both like into music. So one's like a songwriter, one's a singer, and then they end up obviously falling in love. That's not a surprise. They fall in love while making music together, and it is cute. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It just like wasn't hitting the way 7-Year Slip hit. And I didn't really love like the main character, the male main character. I don't know, for whatever reason, I wasn't like super into him, but it was okay. So like there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing great about it either. Okay, then I'm cringing so hard. The next audiobook I listened to is called Deep End by Hazelwood. I gave this book 3 stars. This book is raunchy. It is raunchy, it is spicy. I kind of felt like I shouldn't be listening to it. Basically, this book is about 2 athletes in college. I guess they're college, university, whatever the case is. One's a diver, one's a swimmer. They're both into BDSM, and they find out through someone who links them together and says like, hey, you guys are interested in the same kind of stuff. It's kind of like them navigating each other and that. And obviously falling in love and forming a relationship, and it was just not my cup of tea. I've read another Hazelwood book previously, which I also didn't love. Like my issue with this book is that there was like too much sexual energy to the point where it was taking away from the love story, which is what I wanted. It was just too detailed. Like it was, especially listening to it as an audiobook, like it was a lot. So I didn't love it, but if you're into that, then this would be a good option for you. Then I read The Family Upstairs by Jewell, and I gave it 3.9 stars. I usually really like Jewell books. This one was weird. Most of her books are weird. Most of them are like mystery, murder, that kind of thing. I was into it, like I read it very quickly. But I didn't love the story and I didn't love the ending. It just kind of fell flat for me. 25-year-old girl comes to know that she has this huge inheritance, like she's been given this house, and she's known her whole life that she's adopted, and so her birth parents gave her this house essentially, and she's trying to figure out like, do I want to keep this house? Do I want to sell it? And there's some weird stuff that's gone on in the house, so she's like trying to figure out what happened. Basically, it's like kind of like jumping back and forth between the past and the present in terms of what happened in the house, what went down. There were a few murders, obviously, and kind of like who did it. and things like that. So there are like twists and turns, as all Lisa Jewell books have, but it just, the story itself just fell flat to me. Like it was just not as entertaining as some of her other books. And then we are on my first 5-star book of 2025, and it is a love story, which is crazy for me to say. I gave 5 stars to The Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, which is her newest book. So it came out this year. I do like Emily Henry books, but I just wasn't expecting to love this one as much as I did. I don't think it has like the best reviews on Goodreads either, but it is a love story, obviously. It's about 2 people who essentially are fighting it out to write a kind of like an autobiography for this famous person. And while they're fighting it out, obviously they fall in love. What I really liked about it is that there are multiple storylines, multiple plots all happening at the same time. And I felt very invested in all of them. So I felt invested in the story that the famous person was telling us. I felt invested in the story that we were learning about this girl who's trying to write this book, and all of that together and how they all kind of intertwined. And then it was just like a feel-good book essentially towards the end of it. It felt like really like neatly wrapped up, and the emotions were like emotioning, and that's what I really like. I really like books that are super intense in the way that they make you feel. And so I give it 5 stars. The rating that I give is like as soon as I'm done reading, how do I feel about it? Because the more I read about other people's opinions, or I see other people's opinions, or they message me after I've posted, then I start to like overthink what I felt about it. So would I say it's 5 stars now, like a couple months after reading it? I can't say for sure, but in the moment I thought it was an amazing book, so I gave it 5 stars. And then the last book that I read in Q3, so the last book of September, was The Brilliant Life of Eudora Honeysett. I gave this book 4.25 stars. And this book is essentially about an old woman who doesn't really have any family or friends, and then she gets new neighbors, and the new neighbors have a daughter, and the daughter is like really full of life and basically teaches her how to live her life the best that she can, kind of like taking her out of this like negative space that she was in. Again, it also jumps between past and present, so like her childhood and then her growing up, the old lady, and then also in the present when she's like, you know, pretty much ready to die essentially. The reason why I didn't love this book is because it gave a similar vibe to A Man Called Ove, which is a book and now a movie, and I did really like that book as well, but it was too similar of a plot. There are some differences obviously between this and that book, and the ending of this book is different as well. And I'm pretty sure I cried in the book, or maybe I almost wanted to cry, but I didn't. So it was good. Like I gave it 4.25 stars, but the storyline was too similar to another book that's really popular. It just didn't seem unique enough to be its own book. So that wraps up all of the books that I read in July, August, and September. And like I said, I am really excited to talk to you more about the other 5-star book that I read in this next quarter, and it's October, so I have a couple more months to finish all the books for 2025, and then I will be filming the best and worst books that I read in 2025. So far, I've read 40 books as of today, which is mid-October. I've read 40 books. My goal is 50 for the year. If you guys are interested in hearing more about me, more about the other books that I've read this year, you can go ahead and watch my videos about reviewing my Q1 books and my Q2 books, and then of course the best and worst books from last year as well. I've just started talking about book content on my channel. I do love reading, as you can tell, and having this goal honestly is making me more motivated, and it's really becoming a way for me to kind of relax and unwind at the end of the day, which I enjoy because my job can kind of be stressful sometimes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions on books that I would like, now that you've heard some of my opinions, you can let me know in the comments below. And if you have any differing opinions from what I said, let me know as well. I'll be really interested to hear what you think. And thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.